Hello everybody, and welcome to week 7 of our series through the book of Romans. If you've stumbled across this video, it has been intended to be used in a Connect group context, and if you're not part of a Connect group, why don't you pop onto our website, see if you can find a Connect group near you, where I'm sure they'll be delighted to have you join in the conversation with them. So today we're looking at chapter 8, and we're picking up from verse 26 and going from there. But before we do that, I'd like to just tell you a story that happened to us some years back. We were on a trip up in Zimbabwe. It was a Friday evening, just after sunset, and we were about 30 kilometers outside of Bridge, and we hit a massive pothole and damaged 2 of our tires. Rims buckled, and so I was leading this little group, and we sat there and just didn't really know what to do, because suddenly we only had 1 spare tire but 2 broken tires. And I can remember clearly just walking up to the fence on the side of the road and just saying, God, I really don't know what to do. I don't know how to deal with this one. I need your help on this one, and feeling quite anxious about it. Not long after we had finished prayer, I'd finished that prayer, one of the vehicles that had been traveling ahead of us somehow had missed the turn and ended up being behind us, and so they were able to assist us, took the tires back to Bridge, where at 9 o'clock at night we found somebody to straighten the rims, and we were able to carry on our journey. I discovered then that God is always with us. The book of Romans chapter 8 begins with a promise that there's no condemnation for us who are in Christ. And it ends with a promise that nothing can separate us from Christ. And the whole chapter covers a journey through the reality of life, where we experience all kinds of hardship, pain, suffering, and quite honestly, often we become quite distressed with life. And so even though we have these promises, it doesn't negate the fact that we experience these difficulties. But the bottom line of this week's series is that we can endure all suffering, and that we can be reassured of God's love in our suffering. We also know this truth, that in our suffering, God is working for our good and for His glory. And because of our realization of this promise, our revelation, understanding of this promise, we are able to be more than conquerors over our suffering. Thomas Schreiner puts it like this. He says, to be more than a conqueror over affliction, distress, persecution, and so on, indicates that these enemies actually turn to the good of believers through the power of God. The psalmist, I think, had a really great revelation of this in Psalm 23 and verse 6, where he says, surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. He had an incredible revelation that even though life got hard at times, we are always surrounded by God's goodness and God's love. The reality is that God's love and God's goodness doesn't take away the pain, doesn't take the suffering away, but it does give us a reassurance of His presence, and it's something that we can hold on to as we navigate the difficulties and the sufferings in our lives. 3 points that I'd like us to take away from our discussion today. The first one is this: we can be reassured that Christ is for us, even in our hardships. Secondly, we can be reassured that we are secure in Christ because of what He has done for us. And thirdly, we can be reassured that we will be with Him one day forever. These 3 reassurances is what we can hold on and help us to navigate the difficulties that we go through every day. My prayers as you carry on discussing this is that you will have a revelation of this truth, such a powerful revelation that it will help you to navigate the difficulties that you walk through from time to time. God bless and have a great Connect tonight.